Happy December 9th, and welcome to MicroStrategy Today, the only show that's bringing you MicroStrategy insights 7 days a week. Today, we're talking about Amazon smashing the Bitcoin buy button, Michael Saylor urging the US government to demonetize the gold asset class. Pretty interesting stuff there. We'll also have the best 6-minute Saylor highlight clip I've ever seen. You won't want to miss that. Remember, this is not financial advice. Do your own research, and let's dive right into the tracker. So, what's going on with MicroStrategy today? Well, the market hasn't opened yet, so it's the same old, same old. A couple things to note: the Bitcoin value per share has dropped to $168. The NAV premium has increased to 2.34. So it'll be interesting to see what transpires over today and the rest of this week. We'll keep you updated on that. We're going to talk about the Catalyst Tracker, my friends, 1 day away from the Microsoft shareholder vote on Bitcoin, just 1 day. QQQ announcement in just 4 days. The QQQ inclusion, the reconstitution in 11 days, and a lot of great catalysts coming up. Let's talk about Bitcoin-backed treasury for Amazon. Think Tank cites MicroStrategy's 40 billion gain in gold and in bold proposal. So this is just amazing. I mean, it started with Microsoft. Now it's Amazon. And believe me, my friends, every single company, big, medium, and small, is going to have to make this decision. Are we going to add Bitcoin to our treasury, to our assets, to our balance sheets? Now, are we going to convert the trash that is our cash, the trash that is our treasuries into Bitcoin now? Or are we going to make potentially a massive mistake and wait until Bitcoin is much higher and we missed out on all of those gains? MicroStrategy is leading the way. Michael Saylor is showing the way. He is making sure that Microsoft knows, that Amazon knows, that Google knows, that Apple knows, that all the Magnificent Seven, that all the S&P 500, that every single company needs to know that you are really making a big mistake, likely, unless you have Bitcoin as at least a percentage on your balance sheet, instead of just having cash and treasuries sitting there doing you and I know what. Well, how about some Bitcoin? So it's going to be really exciting to see how Michael Saylor approaches this one. Is he going to create another video just for Amazon shareholders? That'll be pretty cool. I think he should personalize it. He should customize these things. I mean, this is what this man does. He's amazing at it. I think that he should fly anywhere he needs to go see Jeff Bezos. I know he will do that as well. So really exciting times. We'll see about Microsoft. If they vote it down this time, listen, they'll get Bitcoin at the price they deserve, and it will just be much higher, and they'll be regretting it. If Amazon votes it down this time, they'll get Bitcoin at the price that they deserve, and it'll be much higher, very likely. Everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. Believe me, these companies, they're at least starting to have to face the music that Bitcoin is here to stay. Exciting times for all Bitcoin holders, exciting times for all MicroStrategy holders as well. Let's talk about this pretty interesting conversation / article about Bitcoin purchases by MicroStrategy in the previous 4 instances urges the US government to demonetize the entire gold asset class by buying Bitcoin. There's a video that I shared yesterday that goes pretty deep into this. But basically, Michael Saylor is saying, hey, the US government has a lot of options. They want to go and create the Bitcoin strategic reserve. That is exciting. That is awesome. That is something they can do. Here are some options they can do to actually get that Bitcoin strategic reserve as quickly as possible and to make it make sense. And one of those ways, he says, is to sell gold, to buy 5 million Bitcoin. Now, that would obviously be crazy and insane, not insane. I mean, it'd be crazy and awesome for us, for Bitcoin holders, for MicroStrategy holders. But it'd be pretty interesting to see that. But his point is so good, in my opinion. It's so eloquent, because what is he saying in this video? He's saying, listen, if we sell our gold and buy Bitcoin, what are we doing? We are making gold literally so much less valuable, not necessarily worth less, but worth a ton less. And now, what is that doing to all of the other countries, the Russians and the Chinas of the world? What is it doing to those countries? It's making their gold reserves worth so much less. And then what does that mean? Well, Bitcoin is going to obviously skyrocket if and when this happens. I mean, we all know it's going to skyrocket no matter what over time, but this would obviously speed it up. And then, wow, here's the US sitting on 5 million Bitcoin, really controlling the financial and economic world on a lot of levels. Now, again, this is game theory, but game theory has been activated. Nation states are talking about this. You saw Putin from Russia was talking about this. We know that China is talking about this. They just unbanned Bitcoin for the first time not too long ago. It was available. They banned it. It's available. Who knows what they're going to do in the future? But we know that nation states are talking about this. They are talking about this. This is exciting conversations that they are having for people like you and me that believe in Bitcoin, that believe in MicroStrategy, that believe in Michael Saylor's genius on what he is doing. So a lot of things that happen, a lot of exciting times. Let me whip through some tweets here. This first one is from BitStrategy. I just want to read this because this guy is putting out a lot of great stuff here. I really do enjoy it. He says, money isn't going to drain out of the equity markets and into Bitcoin. It's going to flow into MicroStrategy instead. It's much easier to move money from one ticker to another than it is to withdraw from your brokerage and send it to Bitcoin exchange to buy spot. Money isn't going to drain out of the bond markets and into Bitcoin. Bitcoin is too volatile to meet the needs of the bond industry. They want no downside risk with plenty of upside. Bond money is going to flow into MSTR instead. Why end the bond industry when MSTR convertible bonds outperform Bitcoin itself? Bitcoin isn't the death of equity and bonds. Bitcoin is the renaissance. Wow. I hope you really maybe hit pause and read this again because these words are powerful. They're meaningful. I love them. I want to share this from Bitcoin Archive. He talks about Amazon shareholders requesting the company explores that it adds Bitcoin to its treasury. And again, my friends, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but the shareholders will be heard. They must be heard. Even if the boards of Microsoft and Amazon are clueless and they don't get it, they just don't get it because they're sitting there. I think I actually love what Michael Saylor says is like, people who get Bitcoin have to get Bitcoin. Like you and me, like Bitcoin is going to generationally change our wealth dynamic very likely if it does what we think it's going to do. People that are on the boards of Amazon and Microsoft and these places, they are very wealthy. And guess what? All they're trying to do is just stay wealthy. I mean, that's all they're trying to do. So they don't have the need that the absolute overarching desire to dive deep and to put into hundreds of hours of research that you and I have put into understanding this process and knowing why Bitcoin and MicroStrategy are amazing investments and have an amazing future. So they don't need to know. So the board isn't going to make these changes. But as you can see here, the shareholders, you, myself, who are shareholders of companies, we can demand the change, and they are doing that. Ben Workman has a good comment. One mega corporation at a time. The shareholders are speaking. And again, this is about the Amazon buying of Bitcoin, the shareholders insisting upon it. Here's Jeff says, here we go. Jeff Bezos, let's get Bitcoin on the balance sheet and make Seattle powered by Bitcoin. I mean, let's get the Northwest electric again. A forward-looking city that can handle a Bitcoin nuclear core. I mean, this is just hopefully planting amazing seeds into the minds of these individuals. Bitcoin Archive says, MicroStrategy has bought 17.5 billion Bitcoin this year and 13 billion of that in just the last 6 weeks. Some thought the 2027 target of 18 billion was a fantasy, but he's about to smash that this week with another buy. And oh yeah, by the way, there's going to be another buy of Bitcoin this week. How much will Saylor buy this week? 1 billion, 2 billion, 5 billion? Look at where he's in at 2024. MicroStrategy has bought 17.5 billion. You think he's only going to buy 10 billion in 2025, 14 billion in 2026, and 18 billion in 2027, which people said he was not going to be able to get to? No, absolutely not. He is speeding up this train because he is seeing where it's going. We know where it's going. He knows where it's going. This was just, let's get it out there back in early November to have something down on paper. 42 is a cute number, but that number is cute. Man, we'll see how quickly we eclipse that number in 2025 and beyond. I wanted to share this from Adrian, shared this River tweet about how Bitcoin is now a 2 trillion asset. Here's what's next on its path to becoming a global asset reserve. I mean, look at this. This is the adoption curve. Here's Bitcoin right now. It just passed silver, passed JT Morgan and Goldman Sachs long ago. It's on its way to gold on a very, smooth trajectory plane, then US bonds, then global bonds. I mean, and again, we're talking 140 trillion up here, like crazy, crazy numbers. This is, this is not a natural curve. This is a logarithmic curve. I mean, let's go. Fred Krueger shares something pretty interesting. Now, remember, for those people that may not be aware, one Bitcoin has 100 million Satoshis. So 100 million Satoshis make up one Bitcoin. That's why Bitcoin is unbelievably divisible and feasible and all these different things. And I think this is something that a lot of people, still don't quite understand, especially the 99% of retail who's not here yet. They're like, well, I can't afford one Bitcoin. It's 100,000. They don't understand that just like $100 bill is divisible by 100 pennies, one Bitcoin is divisible by 100 million Satoshis. That is insanity in a great way. But this is just to show how many Satoshis per share of MicroStrategy since inception back in 2020. You can see this is really where the Bitcoin yield just started to take off. Like Michael Saylor has figured it out. He knows what's happening. And you and I, the shareholders, are benefiting from that. Very exciting times. I have a couple funny tweets I want to share here. One's one of the funnier tweets I've ever seen about MicroStrategy, and I'll share that with you next. If you want a little bit of a chuckle, just be open-minded to the fact that it's funny, because I think it's really funny personally. The Bitcoin therapist wrote, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Cook can't possibly all be retarded. One of them is going to put Bitcoin in the balance sheets. Obviously, these are very intelligent human beings, very successful human beings. You have to think they see the future. I mean, did Zuckerberg not change his company from Facebook to Meta? I mean, he knows the future. He sees the future. We have to believe that at least one of them, and eventually, of course, all three, are going to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Now, this is the tweet I was saying that I think is so funny. I'm just going to go through this. Start down here under summer. She's writing, Google is my ex. Microsoft is my husband. NVIDIA is my lover. Now, that's pretty funny in some ways. I mean, she's basically saying that, like, hey, the Magnificent Seven are like, I am in bed with them, so to speak. Like, I love them. I invest in them. Like, the Magnificent Seven are awesome. Well, BitStrategy came back and said, hey, never give up on love. You only need one. If you keep looking, you'll find Mr. Right. MSTR, Mr. Right. I mean, how just perfect and clever is that tweet? I love it. I hope you get a little chuckle out of it, because at the end of the day, we have a lot of fun days ahead, a lot of exciting days ahead, and let's have fun along the way. That being said, I had that 6-minute video clip of Michael Saylor. This is like a highlight clip brought to you by Altcoin Daily. He has a great YouTube show as well, a great Twitter. Definitely check him out. So definitely sit back, relax, and enjoy Michael Saylor at his best.
Anything derail MicroStrategy stock play? What red flag should we watch for? Good question. Lon from Rhode Island.
Lon, I might just need to explain for some other viewers what MicroStrategy is doing. MicroStrategy, around 5 years ago, transformed the company by using its balance sheet. They had a lot of cash on hand to buy Bitcoin. And so instead of the stock being valued on its actual software business, which had been languishing, it's valued as a holder of Bitcoin. But as Bitcoin has risen and MicroStrategy stock has gone up, it's created an opportunity for them to issue convertible bonds and debt to acquire more Bitcoin. What's been novel is that they've issued these debt securities for almost no interest cost, essentially COCO, zero interest bonds. And so they're funding this without having to actually pay for the interest expense. Now, you might think that this is a little bit reckless, but it turns out it's a very novel strategy, because they have created a lot of network value. They're one of the largest holders of Bitcoin now, and ultimately they may become the second largest holder of Bitcoin after the US government. And they're doing this with the ability to borrow at very low cost. You might wonder, why are bondholders buying these bonds? They're offering for the first time the ability for someone to put $1 billion of work in the bond world to own a bond that has exposure to Bitcoin. These have been incredibly high performing bonds. They've been the best performing bonds. So they've helped bond managers outperform by buying typical corporate bonds, but then with this upside in crypto. And so I think that this works unless Bitcoin itself doesn't have a promising future. I think Michael Saylor has not only done something brilliant, but over time, when they do accumulate enough Bitcoin, they're actually going to be able to do quite a lot of novel things with it, whether it's lending Bitcoin or helping some financial system secure Bitcoin as sort of the anchor of that network, MicroStrategy is going to be one of the few companies that has a large holding of Bitcoin that you can actually tap. So it's a very, I kind of applaud the strategy. So I think that there is a lot of upside in what they do, because as long as Bitcoin goes up, MicroStrategy very likely goes up a lot more.
Michael has come up with a brilliant strategy at MicroStrategy, and people are calling it a money glitch for a reason. Why? Because Michael has found a way to issue stock and make it immediately accretive for his shareholders. This is something that Wall Street is not used to. Normally, you issue shares, you do a secondary, and it's usually dilutive unless you can do something very quickly to make to create some value for your shareholders. Well, what he does is he's borrowing money and buying Bitcoin with it. So, just for instance, if he issues $100 million of stock and he buys $100 million of Bitcoin, the stock goes up $200 to $300 million in market value, and it's immediately accretive, not dilutive. And that's because people understand what he's doing. The people who are buying his stock understand what he's doing, and that he's creating this value for them, this underlying value for them. The other thing he's doing is he's issuing convertible debt. And he can do that, Charles, at near zero yield. Or in the last one he did was $3 billion for 0% yield. Well, why can he do that? He can do it because the MSTR stock, his stock is volatile. And it's volatile because of the underlying holding, Bitcoin. But it's also volatile to the upside, which creates optionality for his buyers. And so he's able to issue these converts at almost zero yield because there's optionality for those hedge funds to buy that convert debt and trade around it, and then ultimately they'll look to convert it into the underlying stock, and they'll get value from that as well.
Right. We sold $1.5 billion worth of stock, backed by $500 million worth of Bitcoin. We bought back $1.5 billion of Bitcoin. We captured nearly $1 billion gain in the arbitrage. That we can do with equity day by day. When we do it with debt, we issue $3 billion of debt that's backed by $600 million of Bitcoin that comes due in 5 years. We pay 0% interest. We buy $3 billion of Bitcoin. We capture the $2.4 billion in the arbitrage gain up front. But then over the course of the 5 years, we double or we quadruple the investment because we're buying an asset which is appreciating faster than the S&P.
What you told me was that it's 55% premium over conversion, but a zero coupon. Is that
that was a zero coupon 55. And you can do that because Bitcoin is high vol, and the companies that have Bitcoin on their balance sheet have even higher volatility. So Mara is a great example. 2 weeks ago, they did $1 billion convert, zero coupon, to buy Bitcoin. This week, they're back in the market doing another $1 billion convert, zero coupon, to buy Bitcoin. You can rinse and repeat that frequently.
Well, there you have it, my friends. Another day of MicroStrategy Today, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are excited about Amazon smashing the Bitcoin buy button. If they can get the shareholders on board, Microsoft potentially, the QQQ is happening. A lot of exciting things are happening all this week, all this month, all this year, this next 2025 year, and I'm excited that you're around for it. You know that I'm here putting all this content together for you so that you don't have to, so that you can just wake up, go for a walk, jump in your car, do whatever you're doing, and watch or listen to this show and just consume the latest and greatest of MicroStrategy today on this show. So if you like it, subscribe. I would love to have you as part of my subscriber base. As you can see, the last couple of videos, the comment sections have been out of control. 95% have been positive and good and making a lot of good points and asking a lot of good questions, again, which I answer all of them and respond to all of them. But some pretty interesting other sides of the coin as well that I've been having to navigate. So you might enjoy checking those out as well. So leave a comment, engage with the community. We're having a lot of fun. Share with a friend that you know needs to get this content to them every day so they can figure out the generational wealth that you and I have already figured out. Because Michael Saylor knows it, I know it, you know it. There is no second best.